this weekend. So it's 9 already, and we'll be going right into the program of the day. We'll be having 2 sessions today, just like we did yesterday. Please let's mute our mics. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments section that's on the chat box, and they'll be answered at the end of each session. This morning would be discussing both. So we have 2 sessions today, one legal, one economics. So we'll be starting with the legal session, which will be facilitated by Olayinka Onosoya. And the topic would be an overview of the Constitution, including the roles of the, please let's mute our mics, thank you, including the roles of the different arms of the government and the citizens. This session would hold for a total of 1 hour, and 40 minutes for the session and 20 minutes to take questions. Just drop your questions in the chat box. We will ask the facilitator. So let me do a brief introduction. Olayinka Onosoya is a seasoned legal practitioner with cross-sectoral experience in compliance, corporate advisory, commercial litigation, constitutional law, and human rights. She has practiced in various top-tier law firms and also teaches business law at a higher institution in Lagos. She's also an active member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators in the UK. So let's welcome Olayinka as she comes on. Thank you. Olayinka, over to you, please. Your mic is muted.
Oh, didn't realize. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. We'll be having an informative session of about 30 minutes, 40 minutes or thereabout, before we move on to the question and answer. So we'll be going through the overview of the Constitution, as well as examine the role of different arms of government and the citizens, definitely as established in the Constitution. I welcome everyone, and I'd like to say that most of the information that we're going to be sharing today are to be confirmed in the Constitution, being that the Constitution is a guideline, the basic document by which the social contract of government is being run. Before we go into the present Constitution we are running, which is the 1999 Constitution, that's the Constitution that birthed this democratic era, which started in 1999. There are previous constitutions before now, and even before the independence of Nigeria, there had been several other constitutions, like the Littleton, the Macpherson, the Richardson Constitution. Before we had the 1960, which is the Independence Constitution, and the 1963 Constitution, which was the Republican Constitution. Then we moved on to the other republic, which was the one that started in 1979. There was a constitution as well. So at different points in our lives, there were different constitutions. That is the social document, the social contract that determined our rules of engagement as citizens and as government in respect to the relations we have with each other. That is the relationship of the citizens and the government, as well as the relationship of the government and the citizens. So, having said that, the present constitution, 1999 constitution, came in 1999. It has, since 1990 to date, it has been amended 3 times. And it seems that there's another process which has been initiated at the National Assembly to have it amended once again. So that will be the 4th amendment if this succeeds. The Constitution provides for a way by which it can be amended under Section 9, that is, the National Assembly, following those procedures laid down in Section 9 of the Constitution, can amend it. So moving on, the Constitution basically provides, let me share my slide now. I'm trying to Please allow me to share my slide. Oin.
You can go ahead.
All right, thank you. Share screen while other participants is sharing. Okay, thank you. So we start by discussing the principles of governance. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. What about now? Can you see it now?
No.
Okay. Just give me a second. I guess you should be able to see it now.
Yes.
All right. Probably it was a network age. Okay, so we're starting with understanding the principles of governance. So I said earlier that the Constitution is the social contract that which it's the agreement between the citizens and the government. The government and the government within itself, and as it relates to every other aspect of administration and management of the country. There are some basic principles, there are some basic precepts and ideals that underlie every constitution, depending on what country and what form of government is being practiced. As we know, it's a democracy that we have here in Nigeria. So there are some underlying principles that are like cast in stone, which underlie the existence of the Constitution. And I listed them out here. We have the rule of law. The rule of law is a precept, it's an ideal, and in fact, is the foremost pillar of any constitution, of any democratic existence, to say that the law will govern us all. That is, we are all bound by the law. No one is above the law. We are all equal before the law, and the law will treat us as such. As far as anybody, any institution, any arm of government, whoever we may be, when we come before the law will treat us equally. So the rule of law precepts, it deals with equity, fairness, justice, and that everyone will get his due equally, without fear, without bias, without favor. That is, the law is supreme above everybody. The law rules the land, and it is by the law that every activity in government is being done. The rule of law presupposes that the law is known to everyone. Of course, ignorance of the law does not excuse, but it presupposes that the law is, there's probably a system of passing the law. And when that is done, it becomes valid. And at the point where a law is valid and it applies, at that point, everybody is and should be bound by it at every point in time. Then we move on to separation of powers. Separation of powers would be between the different arms of government. Maybe at this point, I would let you know that I think it's like a general knowledge. Everybody should know that there's the executive, there's the legislature, and there's the judiciary. So the legislature enacts the law, the executive administers the law, the judiciary gives life to the law by interpreting, making declaratory orders, making orders of court, passing judgments, and telling us the position of the law at every point in time. So the powers of these different arms of government are specified in the Constitution, in Section 4, 5, and 6 of the Constitution. The legislative arm of the government is being established and put in the powers of the National Assembly for federal and in the status of assembly for state. Then you have your executive, which is governor for the state, and president for the federation. And they have other institutions that are attached to that office that makes it easy for them to, be able to administer that office. You have different, even the police is an arm of the executive. You have different arms, you have different institutions, I beg your pardon, different institutions by which the executive administer its powers. So when you're talking about the executive having to exercise its own powers, they do it by use of these institutions. So if the executive is going to ensure that there's security in the land, which is the ultimate aim of government, the security and welfare of the people, they have to be able to use their institutions like the police to run the society. Then when you look at the judiciary interprets the laws, they give it life by making declarations, by passing orders, and the order of the court until set aside by that court or a court of superior jurisdiction, it is valid and it is itself law because it can be given efficacy. You can take that order to a police and have it enforced. So the different arms of government perform different duties, and at different times, the powers are separated so that there is no confusion or overlap. The supremacy of the Constitution. The supremacy of the Constitution goes to effect to show that the Constitution is the ground norm, the first law, the prime document by which every other law is subject to. So in a circumstance where there is a document, say another law, that is the provisions is different from what the Constitution is, that provision is invalid to the extent of its disparity with the Constitution. So at every point in time, the Constitution is the foremost law. It is the law on which every other law relies on. It's just like when you're trying to put up a structure, there is always a foundation, like your substructure. So the Constitution is the structure of every law. It's the law by which every other law stands upon. So the Constitution is supreme. That's your first document. That's why sometimes, even if you don't know anything about law, the first document people like to put, please, can I have the Constitution? Is because that's where your terms of engagement as a citizen or as a government has been spelled out. So this shows you that the Constitution is like the eyes of every law, is the zenith, is the apex point. So every other law that does not tally with the Constitution, to the extent of that discrepancy, is invalid. And you can find under your subsection 1, sub 1, and subsection 3 of 1, which goes to show you to the fact that at any point in time that there's any law in the land that does not agree with the Constitution in any area, to the point of that discrepancy, it is invalid, void, and of no effect. So when you have any law that does not promote the spirit of the Constitution, or is different, whether in spirit or in words, from the intendment of the Constitution, that aspect of that law, invalid, void, and of no effect. So we also have the system of check and balance within these different arms of government, which is the executive, your judiciary and legislature. There is definitely a need, which everybody sees, that the Constitution feels to create a check and balance. So the powers of the president being the executive is being checked by the legislature as well as the judiciary. So the legislature has the power to impeach the president where he has come against certain provisions of the Constitution or in circumstances where he has been found wanting or unable to give effect to the provisions of the Constitution. So, so in such a circumstance, you see that the powers of the legislature is being called upon to serve as a check on the president. So a president knows that his powers are not absolute. They are not such that he is not the alpha and omega. He controls a lot and he has enormous powers, yes. But the powers of the legislature is also there to check the president. So in circumstances where the legislature has seen that this president is not fit and worthy, or that he has fallen short of many ideals that is required of a president, because there are definitely requirements to be a president, and then he's falling short of it. Say, for instance, he's not healthy. Or for instance, if the president is mentally challenged, we can't, stay back and be under the whims and caprice of someone who has issues. They should probably have to seek attention, seek medical attention, and the country will not be in limbo at the point. So the House of Assembly can impeach the president. Also, the judiciary has a role in the powers, in assisting with the powers of the presidency too, because they make declarations, so in circumstances where you're like, oh, the president has infringed upon my right, or the president has done this, you can definitely approach a court. But you should also remember that the president, you can't sue the president, is enjoying immunity. So the president cannot be sued, a governor cannot be sued, they are enjoying immunity until they have vacated office. But it is the Chief Justice of Nigeria that swears him into office, a sort of ceremonial role for the CJN when the president is coming into your office. So that's like a form of check at this instance. However, the president also has the same powers to exercise in respect of the judiciary and the National Assembly. The president, on advice of the National Assembly, can remove the CJ. Okay, there was a situation that played out. That one will have to be explained much more later. So the system of check and balance is constitutionally guaranteed. It's just to ensure that nobody uses so much power that they don't have. They don't become a lord and master unto themselves, because everybody is subject to law. It's the law that is applicable to everybody, and it's not that it's you as an individual that we're following. There's no rulership, so to say. There's leadership followed in terms with law. So then there's guaranteed protection of rights under the Constitution. So your Chapter 4 gives you different rights. That's Chapter 4 of the Nigerian Constitution, 99 Constitution that's amended, give you different rights. And these rights are inalienable and inherent. That is, they're part of you. Nobody can dash them to you, like Fela will say, you cannot dash me human rights. They are part of you. So the Constitution only gives life to them by ensuring that, oh, this is the basis of this, our relationship as citizen to government, government to other parts of government, and citizen within ourselves. There's some things you cannot take away from me. It's a part of me, and that's what it is. So like your right to life is guaranteed under the Constitution via Section 33. That, oh, this person has a right to be alive. They have a right to their own life, and that nobody could take that away from them. But there is exceptions. There are exceptions, like when the police is trying to effect arrest, and it's like the only way to get the person. Is this circumstance, it will be in those ones where the crime is grave. Say someone is being alleged of armed robbery, is carrying arms, is trying to run away from the scene of the crime with arms, and it's difficult to get a hold of the person. And so in the process of maybe shooting at the person, I know the first course is always to shoot at the legs. and they're unable to get the legs, then we move on to maybe the bullets went to another part and person died. So in such circumstances, it's an exception, but then it has to be proven because the life of every Nigerian is definitely very important. And you have the rights to the dignity of human person under Section 34. That is like everybody has to respect you. They have to give you a certain level of, nobody should treat you like an animal. You should be flogged for no reason. So that is that. And there's so many other rights, but those two always come across to my mind. And then that of conscience, and you have freedom of expression, and these are all guaranteed under the Constitution. As well, you find them in international documents, your ICCPR, International Convention of Civil and Political Rights. You have them in your United Nations Declaration. So there are some rights that it's part of you as a human being, and nobody can take it away. So you have those rights guaranteed. Their protection is guaranteed under the Constitution. And then we also have a process in Nigeria, which is the Fundamental Rights Enforcement Procedure. So in such a circumstance where someone deprives you of your rights, you have a course of action. You should go to court and seek redress. And then your orders will be definitely given effect to. So I also want us to know that sometimes people get scared. And this is the point we say that you need a lawyer. Like, you definitely need one. All right. So I'd explain that there are three organs of government, which is the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The powers of the legislature are spelled out in Section 4. The powers of the executive are spelled out in Section 5, and the powers of the judiciary are spelled out in Section 6. There's an hierarchy of courts. You should definitely know there's a Supreme Court, there's a Court of Appeal, there are high courts, which is Federal High Court, State High Courts. There are so many other courts in that level and some courts below that. But these are basically the courts of record. Your magistrate court is not a court of record, but you could go there to have some claims, little claims addressed as well, so that we don't, crowd the court. So I said this earlier, Section 4 of the Constitution provides for the vesting of legislative power in the National Assembly and in the State Assembly. So the legislative power is the power to enact laws, and you know that it's a democracy. Everything is done by the law. Even to spend money under this government, there has to be an appropriation bill, which is then passed and then becomes the budget. So in a situation where the appropriation bill is not passed, but the budget is not, nobody's ordinarily ought to spend anything, it has to be that you take effect until when the budget has been passed. Then Section 5 of the Constitution provides for the role of executive and spells out the powers of the governor and president, subject to the laws of the federation and the state respectively, as enacted by the legislature. So the president do not have powers to do things that are not spelled out in the law. The president do not have powers to give life to things that are not clearly spelled out. And we operate a written law system here in Nigeria. So our laws are not such that it's an idea. No, it's not an idea. Like the UK, they have likely unwritten laws, but here they are basically written, and every law that anyone is going to enforce is one that has been passed. It has been codified, and it's definitely one that has been gazetted and is published. So we know what the law is and what the law is about. It's not, nobody's going to catch you unawares. And as okay, Section 6 provides for the functions of the judiciary to include the inherent powers of the court. The inherent powers of the court is to give orders, to interpret the laws. So when the legislature make a law and you probably are not clear as to what the interpretation is, you go to court. If the legislature says, oh, this is the position of the law with respect to this, and you're not clear, you go to court. The court makes declaratory orders. The court says that this is the position. And at that point, we're able to realize that, yeah, this is what the law is. So is the declaration of the court that would then clarify if there's an overlap between arms of government, individual rights and government rights, or whatever there is. So at every point, things are not clear in terms of interpretation. Say you read a document, it's a law, you don't understand this, and this is where your rights are from. You definitely have to approach the court, seek redress, and get your orders. Then you're able to enforce. So then we come on to the concurrent list and the exclusive list. Okay, the concurrent list is a list of issues, a list of different areas of administration that to enact laws on. So then you have a different aspect of government. Everybody knows there are different aspects of government. So some are exclusive to the federal government, that it is just the National Assembly that has powers to make laws and enforce it with respect to these areas. Say, for instance, your aviation, your maritime, Air Force, those areas that are within the purview of the federal government. It's just the National Assembly, and the National Assembly consists of the Senate and the House of Representatives. They're just the only set of people that get to make these laws. It's not the business of the state House of Assembly. But when you look at the concurrent list, these are lists that the National Assembly could make laws on it, as well as the State Assembly. So this list is not exclusive, but the State Assembly would make laws, and then the National Assembly will make its own laws. Then there's a twist. At this point, where there is an overlap, say there's provision of the State House of Assembly law that is in conflict with the provision of the federal enactment, it's the federal enactment that supersedes in this respect. So I hope this is clear. I hope we're getting this clear, because there's a concurrent list, there's an exclusive list. The exclusive list is sold to the federal government, solely the business of the National Assembly, national, mark the word national, which is the Senate and the House of Reps. Then when you go to the concurrent list, that's where you have the federal government and the state government have powers to make laws with respect to this. It's spelled out in section 251 of the Constitution. That's where your exclusive list is, where you have issues of security, issues of say national security, say the police. It's all under the purview of the federal. That's where the National Assembly comes in. But in such a circumstance where it comes under the concurrent list, it's not the one that is exclusive to the federal government. Then the State House of Assembly can make laws for this as well. And I said that when there's an overlap or conflict between these two, it is the provisions of the National Assembly, which is the federal enactment, that prevails. I hope this is clear. So I'd said the rights and obligations of the citizen. And the citizen is like the highest office in the land. It's just that many times we don't know the powers that we wield. And then because of fear, the rights and obligations of the citizens, it's enormous. It's quite a lot of them. You have freedom of association. You have freedom to express your thought, your conscience, and religion. So no one can force you to hold a particular religion. If you are a Christian, no one could force you to be a Muslim. If you're a Muslim, no one will force you to be a Christian. And if you decide that, it's your traditional belief you want to hold on to, then that's it. So the freedom of expression and the media, too, it's very, very sacrosanct. In fact, this is democracy, one of the pillars that democracy rests on. So there are so many of these rights. And I've highlighted some, which are the right to dignity of the human person. Nobody should treat you shabbily. Nobody should, nobody should assault you. And that's why you could actually approach the court that you've been assaulted and get damages. Freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. You can think anything. You can think anything. Yes, you could speak according to your conscience, like speak your truth. Follow a religion, follow a group of people, and that's your religion, that's your belief, you hold it. You have a right under the law to hold your opinion, to hold your thought, to hold your conscience, to be a member of a religious group. You also have freedom to express yourself, and that's where the powers of the media come from. You shouldn't deprive people of access to information, and you can also recall that we have a Freedom of Information Act, that you have a right to ask anybody, government official, like, provide me this, I require this. So the office of the citizen is like, for me, it's the greatest. Just that we don't realize the powers we have. And it's only when it's 4 years that people remember, it's time to vote, let's go and vote. That's like the only powers you remember you have. There's so many other powers. You could effect arrest. There's so many other powers, but of course, when you effect arrest, you have to hand over to the police officer immediately. A duty to vote and be voted for. You can stand for elections and vote for other people as well. So these rights are attached to you being a citizen. Of course, definitely someone who's not a citizen of Nigeria cannot vote here. Someone who's not a citizen of Nigeria cannot stand to be voted. It comes with some attended rights, and which is right to vote. And to be voted for, as I said. We move on to powers exercisable by the citizen. I said power to recall, representative, and effect citizens' arrest. So the House of Assembly members, they are not there at large. The citizen can recall them. If your representative is not acting properly, if he's not following your opinion, say you're in Lagos East or Lagos West, your senator at the federal, or whether your representative at the State House of Assembly is going there to serve his own personal gains, is not watching out for you, then what you do is to recall him. There's a process that you start by, filing some papers at the INEC office, and you recall him. So the powers of the citizen too is very, very great. And that's why when it comes to elections, you're being induced, giving this, giving that, oh, vote for this, vote for that, which is in itself wrong. But it's because they realize that the citizens have powers that the citizens themselves don't even see that they wield. You have power to recall your representative as well. You can effect citizens' arrest, subject to you handing the citizen over, the suspect over to the police. So I said our thoughts, our prayers are with everyone at this time. We shall overcome. I think I'm open for questions and answers now. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, Olayinka. So, guys, you can drop your questions. Someone says, let's start recalling these people. So, maybe you can take us through the process of recalling um, legislators and so can you just run us through the process of recalling elected people?
Okay, the process of recalling, I believe, is you started at the INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission. There's some paperwork that has to be done, like you file some, and then the INEC will start that process. So when they're able to get a percentage of people, a percentage of electorate constituents in that constituency, depending whether it's a federal constituency or state constituency, so there's a requirement of meeting a certain level of persons as voters, constituent members, and then the notice will be given to the elected representative. But of course, there's always a reason why you want to call somebody back. So based on that, we definitely leave all these areas depending on what it is itself that you're trying to recall the person back from. So this is subject to what you're able to put out. Oh, this is what this representative is not doing what we asked him to do. And then you make your representation. You're filing some certain papers at INEC, and the notice will be given to that individual. And then there's a record.
Uh, Hello.
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
All right. Can you like list out the process? I know you said something about we would have to submit a petition to INEC. Is that it? Like a letter
No,
of
I'm saying there are some, you have to give an intent that this is what you want to do. And there are some forms to be filled at the INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission. So it's based on what to say now, I wouldn't say the offenses. It's based on the grievances that you registered. Like, oh, this person is not representing our interest. Of course, it's an election. So it's the number of persons as well. So in such circumstance where your representative is not doing what you asked him to do, like it's going there for his own personal gains, that's the ground where you're bringing the action, the representation. So you say, oh, this person isn't doing this, that, and based on that, the constituents, which are the people. So in this case, for instance, it's not everybody, it's only those people affected being the constituency members of that are called that will be the ones to give representation. So at this point, it's the people affected that will come forth, make these representations at INEC, and then a notice will be served on the affected member, and
Okay.
will come.
Does it require a particular number of people, or can I, as an individual, just go and submit a request for my legislator?
It requires a particular number of people. So the INEC has laid down a process, which is that you come, you make representation, notice is given to this person. So at that point, it probably comes forth and so, but if you're able to meet that number that is required.
So where can we check this INEC process, like the exact number that is necessary?
Okay, I'll provide the link of the applicable INEC provision for this. But it's the INEC. You still do this through the INEC. You don't do this on your own.
Okay. So there's a question that says, when you say recall, do you mean removing from the office?
That's the meaning of recall, because you're sending somebody over there to represent you. At the point where he's not carrying out that function, you recall him and send somebody else. He's not there on his own personal volition. He's supposed to be there to represent you, like carry out your own wishes as a people of a constituency. So if, for instance, you are the National Assembly as a representative, what you go to do there is say that these are the pains of my people, because what the people in Ogba are going through is not the same as what the people in Ikoyi are going through. So your representations at the assembly is definitely different. It's based on what the people asked you to say. So if they see that you're not carrying out that role, what you're doing is different, then they have a right to recall the person. And this is procedure as laid down by the INEC. So the constituency members, sorry for the use of that word, constituents, they are the ones who would now start off the process with the INEC by making some representations. And then INEC will give notice to this rep. This is what is going on. And then from then on, if they are able to secure a certain level of, say, representations from the constituents, say votes of no confidence from the constituents, then the person can be recalled. But the process is supervised by INEC. It's not a process that, say, you just have to yourself. You still do it through INEC.
All right. So there's a question that says, who or what checks the legislature and other arms of government?
That's what I just explained now, that it's the citizen that recalls the legislature. One. And then you should also know that your legislature, they don't enjoy immunity. You can sue them to court. You can sue them in a court. So if your legislature commits a crime and is taken to court and is found guilty, you can, based on that, recall him.
Okay. So there's a question that says, before impeachment, how else does the legislature handle misconduct of the president or presidency?
I didn't get that.
Before impeachment,
okay,
how else does the legislature handle misconduct of the president or presidency?
Impeachment is the constitutional powers given to the legislature to check on the president. But if you're asking that if there's any other way other than the impeachment by which the legislature have powers over the president, I doubt it. But there are oversight functions that the legislature has. Check on what the president is doing. Check whether he's but at the end of the day, the ultimate power is in the impeachment. Every other thing is just word of mouth. And we see it here times again, times number where the legislature will say point of commencing impeachment process that, but if they do not get to exercise the impeachment measure they have, the president doesn't assent to it. then they have to send it back to him to veto it. Or the same way, if the president sees that, oh, these people are not, after the law has been passed, they are not signing it. They have the ultimate power. Every other one is suffer also that your appropriation bill off the record. I probably won't pass your appropriation bill or that kind of informal conversations. But the ultimate power the legislative house has is that of impeachment. And the moment that commences, everybody sees that the president sits right.
All right, thank you. What has the power? No, after they are recalled, how will someone else put on seat?
Then there's always a by-election for another person to go back there. It's just like, let's go back to Tales by Moonlight when they say there's a community meeting and then this person from this household comes, this person from this household comes and represents people. If he is unable to, and you recall him, somebody else definitely, they conduct another election and somebody else goes. So you even know that in circumstances where members of the legislative arm are probably passed on or they're unable to discharge their duties, there's definitely going to be a by-election. That's another election conducted by the INEC to elect somebody else into the office. So there's no vacuum in governance. We move.
Who has the power to reduce or change the salaries or benefits of the people in the National Assembly or House of Assembly?
They themselves have the power to increase their own salaries, which is very, very ridiculous. Very, very ridiculous because they are the ones passing the law. And until the law is set aside, the law is law, and every spirit of the law will be obeyed. They are the ones by themselves who decide that, oh, this is our salary, let's review the law. They review the law, of course, it will get a smooth sail, and then they pass it.
All right.
So if you see that they are not comfortable with that, maybe we should recall them all.
Okay. If you want to get something discussed at the legislature as a citizen, what's the process to encourage that? How do they decide what to prioritize or discuss of the things on their tray?
That's a dicey one because at the end of the day, the bulk stops on the table of the speaker or the Senate president. They have a lot of things to pick, they have a lot of things to discuss, but they are the ones themselves, by powers vested in the seat of the speaker or the Senate president, as the case may be, to determine that today this is what we are going to do. So he's the person who is administering that hallowed chambers for the purpose of running the administration of whatever is being sent in. So if you make a representation, for instance, at the Senate, or you make submissions that, oh, you maybe by your representative and he's making the submissions, but the speaker decides that he's not going to hear him today. We've seen that times without number. I think there's still one of Honorable Shina Pella complaining that the speaker is not recognizing him or allowing him to talk, and he's speaking for the people, and the speaker should allow him to talk. So at the end of the day, the buck stops on the table of the speaker or the Senate president. So you would expect that the elected officials themselves should be responsive and sensitive to that office. So because an office that wields a lot of power.
Okay. Is it unlawful to create a video in Pidgin English where the explanation of the Constitution is done and the same video uploaded to social media for people to watch and learn?
We have a knowledge gap of English. I don't know if I would say that it's not everybody that speaks English. And then now you're talking about social media. You didn't say that. So social media itself has laws that it is subject to. They are internet laws. So when it comes to that realm, you have to be careful because many of the time, many people just think that social media is just there. They are laws. So if there's anything you're going to do, say for instance, Facebook, you always read their terms and conditions. For instance, Instagram, you read their terms and conditions. You know that if there's a suit emanating from this I do, which law is applicable, which country's law is applicable. and there are different countries that are involved. So you should always try to keep yourself abreast of what laws are applicable in that sphere. So pidgin English sometimes is just a way to reach out to enormous numbers of people, being that Nigerians are not so versed. The population of Nigerians that speak in English are not as much as the ones that understand pidgin. Like I understand pidgin, for instance. And even a lot of people who understand English understand pidgin. But some people who understand pidgin don't understand English. So I just think it's just a terrain. You have to be careful and know what laws apply to what social media you're using, what social medium you're using, and what law applies to what you're doing. Is it, I hope you're not defaming somebody since you're saying all you're doing is to interpret the constitution and do it. If that's what it is, that is plain and clear.
Okay, thank you. So, how do we check the executive, especially the local governments?
It's the same. It's the same. The local government is just a tier of government. So whatever most of the time what is replicated in your federal government, in your state government, is also replicated in the local government. So your local government, the executive is the chairman, your representative are the councillors, and they also have a judicial arm as well. So all these things are the same. It's just they are replicated by different documents. So your executive chairman can be impeached as well, because there's a legislative arm in your local government. Decide that, Mr. Chairman, enough is enough. Everything we've explained today, which is the organs of government, the arms of government, is the same as replicated in your federal. You have it in your state, and then you have it in your local government. It's the same process, but you have to know that it's in this case, it will be the councillors that would exercise that.
All right, thank you. So it says advice on how to form a political party. The young people of Nigeria are willing to form a political party. Kindly advise us about this move. Is it feasible? If yes, how best can we go about it?
I didn't get that. Sorry, it's a network issue.
Okay.
Can you come again? I didn't get that.
Please, the young people of Nigeria are willing to form a political party. Kindly advise us about this move. Is it feasible? If yes, how best can we go about it?
Okay, everybody has a right, a freedom to associate. I said that. And then the INEC cannot stop anyone from registering a political party. These have been shown again, times and times again, even by the late Leonard Chief Ganifa Emi, when he said that that's a constitutional right that is guaranteed. And so young people can decide to come together and form a political party, which definitely will be registered at the INEC. So this again is another process that is supervised by the Independent National Electoral Commission. But there's nobody that can stop anybody from associating, and there's nobody that can stop anybody from forming a political party. So then definitely young people can come together and form their own political party.
Okay. Are there instances of previous recalls? Does it only work against the party not in power? Have there been cases of recalls?
I'm not aware of any. I know there are a lot of times that the process commenced. I know of a lot of times that the process will commence, that the affected person will be served notice. Then later on, we don't hear anything. We just don't hear anything anymore. It's probably we don't hear anything from the constituents, or we don't hear anything from INEC, and then the process is aborted. At that point, everybody just goes back home. So yes, a lot of times that has been commenced, but I'm not aware of any recall. If you know any, maybe you should point my attention to it.
All right, thank you. Is it possible or unlawful to get a candidate or elected official to sign a document agreeing to recall? So is it possible to get, let's say, legislature to sign a document agreeing to be recalled?
If you're recalling somebody, member, you don't need his signature now. What do you need process done with INEC? You just to sack them. No, you don't need their consent. But what I was just trying to say is that sometimes these people, maybe the moment they commence the recall process, that they try to seek the face of the electoral perspective as well. And but you do not need their consent, because what you actually do as the citizens is to express your own displeasure, and then you take it up with INEC. And when the processes are exhausted with INEC, and that the successful recall is done, the person is recalled. We don't need the person's signature. We don't need them to assent to the fact that they are coming home now. They won't want to assent to it.
Okay. I've been seeing a petition going around for INEC to start voter registration process. Is there a provision in our constitution for those things? For things like petition signing to get INEC to start the registration process early?
Petition is by a way by which you show your displeasure about something. So if as a citizen or body of citizens you're displeased that this is happening, petition is a way by which you show that displeasure. So they're taught your conscience, your freedom to express yourself, to bring to the attention of government that this is what they're not doing right. So petition at every point in time is valid. Nobody can stop you from writing one. And the pen is mightier than the sword. So at every point in time, we should always keep that at the back of our mind. However, the INEC always complain of funding. So it's one thing to write a petition and get it signed. Then the INEC will say, yes, we really want to do this, but we are not funded. And it seems everybody remembers INEC when it's about to be the next 4 years for the election. So now nobody is really talking about INEC until I saw the petition as well. But so at this point, you would think that maybe this is the time we should look for a way to fund the INEC irrespective of who is in power or not, so that the INEC can continue to perform its functions with or without the help of government. But at the point where INEC has to keep waiting for when government remembers it and decide to send funds for those purposes, because the excuses they keep giving is that, oh, we earmark funds for this, and we won't be able to commence this process until this, until that, So the petition, it's a way to show your displeasure at something valid, definitely. But at the end of the day, do INEC have funds? That's another, you know,
So I think
lot.
the question is if petitions are constitutional, like is it like mandatory for the government to, when someone signs a petition, like is there a way we can ensure that petitions are attended to? Like is it backed up by the constitution that we had a lot of petitions flying around?
Yeah, I'm
So
explaining to you now that the petition is your way of registering a displeasure, and it comes under your freedom of thought, expression, and conscience is guaranteed. Like you can express your displeasure. So you don't understand, being that you elect these people into power, the office of the citizen is the highest. It's just that we should be more united and more focused in getting things done. So your petition is a way of showing displeasure that this is this. So by the number of people that signs it, or by the number of people that brings it forth, the person that being addressed to realize that these people are taking this serious. And by that, they should give focus and attention to it. Your petition is just like your written protest. Like your written protest is not you on the street, but it's you putting pen to paper to say that I'm against this. I think this is the proper way to do. So it's you involving yourself in government, and it will be given voice to, being the number of people and then the power and where it is going to. So it's like a way of you putting into government. That's my understanding of your question. Or are you trying to say that the understand is that petition is your own way of, is a protest in writing? Like, I challenge this, I don't think this is right, I don't think this is the way things should be done. And when you're able to lay this to the appropriate authority, they take it as your input into what's happening in government.
all right, thank you. I think that's clear. Sis. So
Okay.
another question says, how can we as citizens effect a constitutional review? Looking at the era of the constitution was made 1999, now we're in 2020. How do we effect a constitutional review?
Okay. So there are different schools of thought on this. Some people don't even believe that the constitution is autochthonous. Autochthonous means local, homegrown, that is given to us by the military. So how do we keep using a document given to us by the military and then you say this is a democracy? But at that point, it was the military that was in power, and they were going to hand over to a democracy. So there's a bit of misconception somewhere. However, the constitution has been reviewed 3 times. And I said at the beginning of the class that even the fourth one, it seems to have been commenced. So if they succeed with this, it will be the fourth amendment on the constitution. What I was thinking, this is my opinion though, is that maybe we come together by way of a referendum and pick some issues and highlight them and vote on these issues so that we would know for a fact that we, the people of Nigeria, gave ourselves this constitution. It wasn't foisted on us. But as far as review is concerned, it's provided for under Section 9 of the Constitution, and the National House of Assembly, the National Assembly, has effected review in 3 instances.
Okay. If the legislature has the power to reduce or change salaries of the people in the National Assembly or House of Assembly themselves in Nigeria, is that how it works in developed countries, or this is only applicable in Nigeria?
Thing about developed countries is that their laws and ours sometimes they're even alike. But law is just a document until somebody gives effect to it. It's just like us, like Lord Denning said, you know, it's like somebody who is riding an unruly horse. Is it the person who is riding the horse or the horse? So laws, yes, they are documents. So let's say you have the powers to increase your salary. Does that mean that you should increase it? So I would not be able to speak for these advanced countries you're talking about, because if it's probably specified a country, I'll probably have to research and check which exact provision there is. But I know for a fact that if somebody says that you have a power to do something, does that mean that you should do it? If someone says you have a power to kill yourself, does that mean you should kill yourself? Okay, you have a power to increase your salaries. You also have a power to reduce it. So at every point in time, there's always something that is right, something that is beneficial. There's always a sense of duty, a sense of justice. And that's why a call is always being made that electorates vote people that are responsible, responsive, sensitive, and sensible. So the fact that they have the powers to do it doesn't always mean that that is the way it should be done. If your minimum wage is 30,000 and a senator goes on with that and that amount and the disparity is so much, and you look at other countries and the disparity isn't there that way, so what kind of country are we running? What kind of management is this? If what the amount you're using to run the government is more than, so it means that the total package of what the senators go on with is a chunk. And that would definitely affect budgeting. If every year we keep having to put that amount of money into paying them, and then at a point in time, you will think that it will get to them that they should do the right thing. It's about doing the right thing. It's not about just the fact that you have the powers, but are you sensible enough to do the right thing?
All right, thank you. Are there roles to people, are other roles to people in power also official, like enshrined in the law or constitution as regards their office? So roles like the PAs, the SS, the aides, media security aides, etc. Are those official roles? Are they in the constitution? Are they constitutional roles?
Of course, they are not constitutional rules. Constitutional rules are rules that are recognized by the Constitution, which is the office of the president, for instance, the office of the vice president, the National Assembly members. Those are constitutional rules. Those are rules that you need to get the job of governance done. The PA and all that is just the official's personal convenience. It's just for him not to be overworked and all that. So that is like his own personal choice. It's just when someone comes to your house and you decide to have a maid, or you decide not to have a maid, you decide to have a driver, or decide not to have a driver. It's your personal call. Those are not constitutional rules. It's just these officials don't want to be overworked and they decide to ease themselves.
And they pay with the country's purse. They pay these people via the country's purse.
Yeah, but there are some times that they give them allowance for domestics. That's the same thing. You see boils down to the question you asked earlier, because they have allowance for these things. That should they now give themselves so much allowance? They have allowance for domestics.
So the PAs and the SS fall under domestics.
Should definitely come under that, because they have allowance that gives them room to be able to, it's just to ease their work. But then what you're wondering is, do you need 6? You need 7 PAs, and then I've heard PA to the PA, senior, assist, senior to the senior, SA to, and then it becomes bogus and meaningless at a point. But then they could have, because they have some allowances that cover for that. But when they become so much, and that's why you're wondering, so where does this money come from?
All right, thank you. So there's a question. The person says, like, how much does INEC need to fund the petition? Okay, so I would ask, like, how much does INEC need to fund the petition?
I didn't get you. What petition? Petition, you're the one writing it. If I
Yes.
decide that I want to petition INEC, it means that, oh, INEC, I need to bring this to your attention. I need to act on this. So maybe he's talking about a recall.
No, so it says INEC. Do we need to pay INEC for a recall?
No, it's in the INEC Act. They have a lot of they have a lot of processes. Just the way we don't pay INEC to conduct elections too. You don't.
Okay. I think you have addressed this question. Can we really start a youth party in Nigeria? Is there a requirement
Definitely.
that all?
Definitely.
Yeah, this question has been answered. Yeah. All right. Okay, so someone says, no, no, no. She said INEC will say they don't have money to start registration early. So I think there's
Yeah,
a
I'm saying that that's like an
yeah, yeah,
excuse because
yeah.
yes, they could actually definitely start, but then they will say it's subject to funding. Of course, you know that these things will cost money, and that do they have money?
Yeah, so
I'm just
that's
saying their usual
but
excuse.
but INEC, I don't know, this is just me asking, is there not supposed to be provision for getting electorates their cards, their voters cards? So is it even something that is supposed to be dependent on the government? INEC is supposed to be an independent body funded by the state, right? And I'm
Yeah, but
sure there's a provision.
the states operate with the arms of the elected officials. The state operates through the office of the president. The state operates through the office of the minister of finance. The state does not have an independent force by which INEC has access to without the input of the president of the minister or the minister of finance. That's the dicey part. So, and these people are elected officials. Say the president is elected, and it's one that still determines what INEC gets. And I told you earlier that whatever amount you get spent is subject to law, being that there's an appropriation bill which becomes budget. So it's the amount that's being marked that, as a matter of law, you have to follow. So
Okay,
there's a process.
but like other ministries and other bodies, is INEC not expected to submit its maybe budget for the year, budget, and then which will be included in the general national budget?
Yeah, just like every other body, yes. But
Yeah.
INEC is not making money. INEC only spends money. INEC is not making money. And INEC is not expected to make money. Some other parts of government, they make money. Like your FIRS, they make money. They go about get taxes. So your NMPC makes money. So many other bodies of government make money. So for INEC, they keep waiting on government. So for instance, if what the allocation given to them this year only covers salaries, they just pay salaries and they don't have extra. I'm just saying that this is an anomaly, that we should have a trust fund or a fund that is devoid of the input of the president or elected officials, where INEC will have access to, so that their independence can be guaranteed.
All right, so we are running out of time. Two more questions and we'll go. So, someone is asking if would it be considered discriminatory to have a youth party in the light of the constitution? So, want to have a party that contains only youth. I know there's somewhere that says right of association or something. So, would it be considered like we are discriminating against the older ones if we decide to have a party for only youth?
I'm trying to understand this question. So you decide to form your political party and then you
And it's
see
for only youth.
it's only youths. Okay, then
Yes.
we now run into the problem of define youths. Then you
No.
probably come and say that is from the age bracket of 18 to 40,
Yeah. So, are
right?
we discriminating against those that are above 40? Yeah. So, would we be
Technically,
discriminating?
yes. Technically, yes. But that will be subject to a declaration of court. If the court is fine that, oh yes, it's a youth party, of course, you can also join another party, must it be this party?
Okay, so are there restrictions to
my opinion, think that it, yeah. Are they what?
so are there legal restrictions against citizens raising
That.
funds for INEC to do something like early voters registration? So can we say, okay, INEC, we are raising funds for you so that you can start registering us for our voters card from 2020?
So when we raise funds for INEC, and INEC still tells you that there's a, but there has to be a framework. I'm not aware of any framework that permits you as citizens to raise funds for INEC, because when you do, it may be donations. So maybe
Yes.
the INEC Act enables it. Except I'm saying I'm not aware of any provision of law that allows you as citizens to raise funds for INEC.
All right.
However, there may be provisions that permit the body to receive gifts, which includes money. So you may be concerned as a concerned citizen, and they will definitely declare that, oh, this is the gift and this they will accept. But it is still within their powers to decide to use the money to register voters.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Do you understand?
Our
It's
time is
still them. They still have the overriding decision.
so our time is up now. Thank you so much, Olainka. For further questions on this, please visit our page on Twitter, and we'll get Olainka to respond to as many questions as possible. We need to quickly move on to the next phase of this. So thank you very much, Olainka. It was really nice having you with us.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah.
Stay safe,
So
everyone.
yeah, you too. For the next half of this session, we'll be having Olaniyi Olaleye talk us through an understanding of the budget, gathering data for any country and summarize the information in simple tables, assessing the monetary and government balances of any country. And this will be for 1 hour starting now. So, like the other class, is going to be for 40 minutes, and we use the remaining 20 minutes to ask and answer questions. So, a brief intro on Olani. Olani is a public finance management expert with 5 years' experience conducting public expenditure analysis, reviewing government's revenue, scrutinizing public debt, conducting gender and power analysis, reviewing audit reports, and analyzing economic, which includes monetary, fiscal, and trade policies, and managing of donor-funded programs such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Ford Foundation, MacArthur Foundation, British Council, Heinrich Böll, Stephen Nigeria, Omdia Network, the World Bank, and the Open Society for West Africa, with an impressive record of accomplishments. He has analyzed fiscal information and provided insights on public finance management and governance issues in Nigeria, and produced several publications with over 20 million Nigerians, depending on the information, on matters of public finance. Currently, he is a senior research analyst at Budget Foundation. I'm sure we all know Budget. So, welcome, Olani.
Good
Over
morning.
to you. Good
Okay,
morning.
I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good morning, everybody. And my name is Olani Olaleye. I'm a research analyst with Budget Foundation. I think we all know Budget. Budget is a civil society organization. I'm responsible for simplifying the national budget and matters of public finance. So we've been in this space for over 9 years, making sure that the fund for the people who actually work for them. So it starts from analyzing the public finance, making the citizen aware of how much is budgeted for them, and boils down to the service delivery issues. So this morning, I'll be making presentation on understanding the principle of governance. So like the last presenter, I've already talked about the overview of the constitution, rules and harms of government and citizen, basic rights, especially voting, understanding of the budget, understanding the basic economic terminologies, the Nigerian economy, and assessing government data. So I wouldn't want to dwell much on the constitution and basic rights of citizens. But the first question I would like to ask everybody is, why should we care about governance? The Nigerian system has been running in a way that citizens don't really participate when it comes to governance. And there is this lackadaisical attitude when it comes to governance from the citizen. We've been seeing situations where citizen feels it's not my business. It should be the way they should do it. But if we continue in this trajectory, we will see that the result of it, or the outcome of this, of our lackadaisical attitude to governance, actually tells a very, very negative effect. So, for instance, let's look at the problem we are currently having in Nigeria with regards to the end-SARS issue. We've been seeing that over time, this issue keeps reoccurring. It keeps reoccurring, but people have to keep quiet, or people have this fear of what may happen to me, or people may, the government might attack me. But we now see a situation where citizens now start asking questions, when citizens now started demanding good governance, we see the reactions of government. So when we don't ask the necessary question when it comes to governance, we see a situation where government keeps quiet. So why should we care about governance? The two problems we're presently facing in Nigeria, number one is high poverty rate. Nigeria is currently the poverty capital of the world. What does this mean? That means Nigeria has the total number of people in the whole world that are poor. Over 80 million Nigerians are poor. So what do we mean by over 80 million Nigerians are poor? That means over 80 million Nigerians cannot afford 400 naira a day for a meal. An average person in Nigeria cannot afford 400 naira. So if you look at these issues very well, and it's a very, very critical issue, let's look at the population of Nigeria, over 200 million Nigerians, and we're having over 80 million of them that will not be able to afford 400 naira, which is about $1 to hit. The second problem why you should care about governance is unemployment rate and underemployment. The first one, which is unemployment, is basically we have over 40% of Nigeria that does not have a job. They don't have anything they are doing, and they don't have any source of income. Then the underemployment, we have people presently in Nigeria that are working and are collecting less than the value of what they are working for. So these are the issues. So if we look at what has been happening in Nigeria over the past weeks, we will see a situation. People are burgling warehouses. We see a situation where people are countering the end-SARS protests. We see that everything boils down to the high poverty rate. I was looking at it on the TV, and I was seeing it on different social medias where people were saying that people that were countering these protests collected 2,000 naira. So you see a situation where people are demanding for good governance, and some people are collecting 2,000 naira to disrupt this process, which boils down to the high poverty rate. So we really understand the problem. Pictures in front of you, we see kids, we see children on the streets begging for money. Is that they begging for money, or they are begging the northern part of Nigeria? Why do we have this problem in Nigeria? And I've been hearing it from different circles that, oh, Nigeria has money. Nigeria has money. Nigeria is producing oil. If Nigeria is producing oil, and majority of our revenue are gotten from oil, then why do we have this problem where we see children between the ages of 5 to 15 on the main road begging for food and money? And presently, we have over 10 million children that are out of school. So these are the problems we are presently facing in Nigeria, and this is one of the reasons why you should care about governance. So our last speaker have already talked about the constitution, and we've talked about the roles of the legislative, the executives, and the judiciary. And she has also talked about the rights and duties of a citizen. So what are the 10 actions that will make you an active citizen? I think she has also talked about that. Payment of tax, ask questions, register to vote, allegiance, and uphold the constitutions. I will still be sharing these presentations to everybody that may need a copy to read through. So I just really want to go to the budget. So there are two important documents in Nigeria at the moment. Two important documents. The first one is the Constitution, and the second one is the budget. So we've been seeing people talk about the Constitution every day, almost in the news, the duties of the executives, the political cycle that concerns the Nigerian governance, but we've not really been seeing people talk about the budget of Nigeria. Why don't we have people talk about the budget of Nigeria? The problem, the reason behind this is because Nigeria has been running a system where we call the opaque system. So what do we mean by the opaque system? The Nigerian political elite don't make information available to the public. I will say this anyway, and with every boldness, that Nigeria has gotten to a stage where the Nigerian political elite or the people representing us in governance don't like making their documents, the financial documents, to the public. Okay, let's say for instance, 5 years ago, we were running a campaign in our office where we call the open budget system. So what does the open budget system mean? In the last 5 years, out of the 36 states in Nigeria, you'll be shocked to know that out of the 36 states in Nigeria over the last 5 years, only 5 states make their budget available to the public. Here comes to the question, why do they do that? The reason why they do that is because of revenue. Because they don't want you to know how much they make, and they don't want you to know how much they spend. Because of the corruption that has been embedded in the system. So we now started this campaign by making states responsible to the citizen. You can't just be collecting people taxes. You can't just be collecting money from the citizen. People pay taxes. People pay taxes in their shop. We have the personal income tax that people pay, and people don't know how much the government makes or how much the government spends. When we started this campaign, as at last year, we have presently 35 states in Nigeria that's making their budget available to the public. When it comes to the budget, every attention is always on the federal government. The federal government is presenting budget. Have we, as an individual, as a citizen, asked ourselves, what is my state's budget? I'm very sure that out of the participants I'm looking at, over 70 participants in this meeting, I'm very sure and I'm very certain that if I ask everybody, 5 people will not be able to tell me how much their state government is budgeting. I'm very sure nobody will be able to tell me that this is how much my state, Lagos State, Kaduna State, or Osun State budgeted for 2020. These are the problems, these are the issues. When people don't demand accountability, or when people don't ask questions from the government, they tend to take the advantage of the citizen. So what do we mean by budget? Budget is a document that sets out how much money is coming in, where it is coming from, and what it will be spent on. So we're always making this easy because as budget, we're always trying to simplify these budget terms to people for easy understanding. So the budget is divided into 2 components. The first component is the revenue. The second one is the expenditure. Let me make it simple. For instance, I want to buy a shoe. I want to buy a shoe, that is my expenditure. So where will I get money from to buy this shoe? Okay, I will get money from my uncle that is based in the US. That is my revenue. So I'm getting that money from my uncle to buy the shoe, which is my expenditure. So we simplify it by saying, where is the money coming from? And where is money going to? We have a revenue component where government is getting the money. The second component, which is the expenditure. So basically, that is what budget means. Where government is getting this money from and what government wants to spend this money on. Where does government get this money from? That is the first question. Because at the moment, Nigeria is running a zero-based budgeting. What do you mean by zero-based budgeting? That means Nigeria presents a budget without any source of income, without any money. Like I've said earlier, I want to buy this shoe, but I don't even know where the money is coming from. That is the kind of budgeting Nigeria system is running. Nigeria presents a budget of over 13 trillion in 2021, but at the moment, you know where the money is coming from, but they don't have the money to execute it. So they project, like, okay, for instance, for customs, we should be able to get 400 billion from customs. From oil, we should be able to get over 2 trillion from oil. From this also source, we should be able to get this money. So Nigeria projects their revenue. It's not as if they have one money somewhere to execute the budget. No. Budget revenues is based on projections. So let's say, for instance, I want to get 2 trillion from custom, and at the end of the day, I got 1 trillion. I already had a deficit of 1 trillion. That means the 1 trillion that I did not get will be what? Will be borrowed. So what makes a budget? Let's define the terminologies that make up a budget. So we have the revenue. So revenue is the amount of money, like I have said, the government believes, let's quote, believes it will make during the year. This is money collected on your behalf. So this money will be collected from taxes, and we have the company income tax, we have the customs, and we have independent revenues, different sources of government revenue. So they believe this is where the money will come from. And the expenditure. What does the expenditure mean? Expenditure means the total amount of money government wants to spend on in that year. So look at the Nigerian budget for 2021. Federal government said Nigeria wants to spend 13 trillion in 2021. And you'll be wondering, an average Nigerian does not even bother how they want to spend the 13 trillion. So here are the problems. These are the issues. Like an average Nigerian don't even care how Nigerian government wants to spend a whole 13 trillion for 2021. So that is the budget size of Nigeria. How do they want to spend this money? So if you don't ask them questions on how they want to spend it, that is where we have corruption. That is where we have mismanagement of funds. Because an average citizen, they just go to work, come back home, and they have forgotten everything that concerns government. So another term, when it comes to budget, we call it the capital expenditure. So capital expenditure is the money spent by government to get fixed capital assets, land, or intangible assets. This means capital expenditure is how much is used for projects, including building of roads, hospitals, and buying of security equipment, and all of that. So capital expenditure is a very, very key component of the budget. Because capital expenditure is where you know if the money government is budgeting actually work for the people. It is in the capital expenditure you will know. Because capital expenditure money will be used in building of hospitals, will be used in the construction of schools, will be used in the construction of roads, anything that concerns construction, work, power, and housing, and all of that boils down to capital expenditure. So we call it that these capital expenditure are actually items that have impact on the people. Because as a citizen, what else do you benefit from the government? The only thing you can benefit from the government is that maybe they provide power, they provide they provide good roads, they provide low-cost housing for people to benefit. It's under this capital expenditure that it is very, very important for governments to budget money on. So the next one, we call it the recurrent expenditure. So what do we mean by the recurrent expenditure? The recurrent expenditure is all payments made apart from capital assets, which include payments of goods and services, salaries of workers, purchase of diesel, internet, and all of that. So recurrent expenditure is used to run the government. This is where they pay salaries of workers. So if you are talking about the expenditure of government, is divided into two: the capital component and the recurrent component. So if you look at this history of Nigerian budget, you will be shocked to know that the federal government of Nigeria budgets more on recurrent expenditure than capital expenditure. So they budget more to pay salaries of workers than money that will construct the road, or that will construct the hospitals, or that will construct the schools. The next one is personnel costs. Personnel costs, personnel costs and overhead costs, they are both under the recurrent expenditure. Personnel costs is for allowances, benefits, workers, civil servants, and all of that, while overhead costs is expenses not paid directly to civil servants. Overhead costs are money, maybe they are buying files, they are buying tables, desks, computers, and all of that in government offices. So components of budget, I've discussed this one earlier. There are major two components of budget: the revenue, where will the money come from, and the expenditure, where will the money go. This is the 2021 budget. This 2021 that we want to enter in the next month. So President Buhari has already presented this budget. I think he presented it like 3 weeks ago. So the total amount of money, if you look at the circle in the middle, the total amount of money that Nigeria wants to spend in 2021 is 13.08 trillion. The total amount of money that they wanted to spend in 2021 is 13 trillion, from 10 trillion in 2020. The Nigerian budget has increased with over 3 trillion, from the 10 trillion figure of 2020 to 13 trillion of 2021. If you look at above this expenditure, you will see revenue that I have already explained, that where will the money come from. So the total amount of money that the government wants to make, finance this 13 trillion, 8 trillion. In the middle of it, you will see a small circle in red, which is 4.84 trillion. That is the deficit. I will explain what this means to us. So government wants to spend 13 trillion, and what they have, what they will get to finance this budget is 8 trillion. So the remaining 4 trillion, where will they see it? This remaining 4 trillion that the middle that we call it deficit will be gotten through borrowing. Let me make a simple example again. I want to buy a shoe of 20,000 naira. I hope everyone is listening to me. Hello?
Yes.
All right, we can hear you.
Okay. So, I'm saying, I want to buy a shoe of 20,000 naira. And after running around, asking my uncle for money, asking my friends for money, I was able to get 16,000 naira. And I want to buy a shoe of 20,000. The money is remaining how much? It's remaining 4,000. And I must buy this shoe of 20,000 naira. Where will I get the 4,000 naira from? And the seller is saying the shoe is not less than 20,000. I was trying to tell the seller that, okay, give me this shoe for 99. He said, no, it's 20,000. And I've gone to everywhere. The amount of money I saw was 16,000 naira, and I must get this shoe. And it's remaining 4,000. Where will I get this 4,000 from? It means I have to go to either a bank or to my friend, please borrow me this 4,000 so that my 20,000 naira can be complete. That is the problem of government. That is the problem of Nigeria. We're spending ourselves. We want to spend 13 trillion, but you have 8. That means for 2021, you will go and borrow 4 trillion, which will have been savaged on our children that are coming. So if you want to pay back this 4 trillion, how do you pay back this money? That means if you want to pay back this money, you have to either you overtax people, or you get it from, we must pay this 4 trillion naira. So the question that I know people will ask me is that, why are we making budget of 13 trillion when we know that we have only 8 trillion? So the reason why we are making budget of 13 trillion and we have only 8 trillion is because our revenue, the revenue we have, if we have gone to every sources, the revenue Nigeria has cannot be up to this amount. So customs, oil revenue, everywhere Nigeria have gone to, they cannot make more than 8 trillion. So this 8 trillion that is projected as revenue, at the end of the year, you'll be shocked to know that government does not even get up to 8 trillion naira. They did not get up to that. The total amount of money the federal government makes in a year is not less than 6 trillion naira. So they keep borrowing. You see that Buhari wants to borrow this amount of money. Buhari wants to borrow it. So the question is, all the money you are borrowing, what exactly are you using it for? It should be the question on every mouth in Nigeria, every mouth of Nigerians. The money government borrows over the years, what exactly are they using this money for? And they keep borrowing every year. We might want to think that, what is my business? If they like, they should borrow. No. The money they are borrowing, every one of us, down to the unborn generation, will pay it. Everybody. It will not leave anybody behind. All of us will pay this money. Let me tell you how you will pay the money that you may not know. Okay, let's say, for instance, BRT buses in Lagos. From Oyigbo, Yaba, before, it was 100 naira. But now it is 150. The same distance. They increase it. That 50 naira that you put as extra to go to Yaba, you are paying back the debts of the government. You see any price of stuff increase in Nigeria, you're now wondering, bread was 100 naira before. Why is it 150? Transport fare was 150 before. Why is it 200 naira? But in your mind, you think you are not paying back these debts. But in every sector of the economy, the debts has actually been put in. So when the government overtaxes the people, or when you pay more than what you're supposed to pay, you are indirectly paying back these debts. You are indirectly paying, but you will not know. You say electricity tariff increased. That, how much was I paying for NEPA bill before? I was paying 2,000 in a month. Now I'm paying 5. But in your mind, 500 naira on it is small. Let's say 500 naira on over 100 million Nigerians. So that is the problem we are having. So when we ask government this question, you've been borrowing every year. What exactly are you using this money for? It tells us that they are using this money for capital infrastructure. That they are doing train, they are building roads, they are building all this why. Lagos-Ibadan Expressway has been on construction for over 15 years. Has anybody ever come to that realization of asking the government, what is there in road construction that you are using over 15 years to construct? Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. They've been constructing that road since I was in secondary school. These are the problems that you think is not affecting the ordinary citizen, that you think is not affecting you. When you find yourself going from Lagos to Ibadan, you spend 3 hours in traffic. You spend 4 hours in traffic. You think you don't care about government. You think you don't care about governance. But indirectly, it's affecting your own productivity. You want to go to Ibadan, you want to come to Lagos for an interview, a job interview. Instead of you to leave today, your house today, and come to Lagos, you have to leave a day earlier. Everything you are supposed to do at your residence, you could not do it because you have to get to Lagos a day before your interview. Because you've already factored the traffic that you are going to face if you leave the same day. So leaving a day earlier to Lagos, which should not take nothing less than 2 hours, and you spend 7 hours in traffic, it has already affected your productivity and your output. So these are the problems. So that deficit you see in the middle will be borrowed by the federal government. How many citizens knows this? Nobody. So let's look at the whole framework of this budget. We see the non-oil revenue, the top one. These are the projection of federal government revenue. They said they will get 1.49 trillion from non-oil, 2 trillion from oil. What do we mean by non-oil sources? Non-oil revenue had revenue that is basically on tax. It's called non-oil because it is not from oil. It's from taxes. And I've explained this, custom, money we get from FIRS, and then all those other agencies of government, they are non-oil revenue. So they said they will get 1 trillion. I want you to look at this teku very well. The revenue is saying 8 trillion. 1 trillion will be gotten from non-oil, which is taxes. The oil revenue that accounts for over 60% of Nigerian revenue, they are getting 2 trillion from it. So if you add the two together, the two is just 3.49 trillion. is a 3.5 trillion. The two major sources of revenue. The other sources not available. If you say you want to get 3 trillion from revenue, and all the money you could get from these two sources is just 3.5. And today, the federal government of Nigeria did not tell us where they will get this remaining money from. So, in my own opinion, as an analyst, is this budget realistic? It is not. It is not realistic. Because the other revenue sources of the government is not available. They did not specify where the money will come from. So let's look at the expenditure below it. Expenditure is how they want to spend it. Statutory transfer, 484.5 billion. What do we mean by statutory transfer? Statutory transfer are money allocated to the independent agencies of government. I would like to break this thing very, very simple. It is called statutory. Statutory means it is backed by law. You see that it's called transfer. Like press fund, they already transferred them the money. So what are the agencies under this statutory transfer? The agencies under the statutory transfer are INEC. The last speaker was talking about INEC, where they get their money from. So INEC that you were taught in the last session, you'll be getting their money from statutory transfer. The National Assembly, their money comes from statutory transfer. National Judicial Council, their money comes from statutory transfer. Niger Delta Development Commission, their money comes from statutory transfer. Northeast Development Commission, their money comes from statutory transfer. So out of this 484 billion naira that will be given to this agency, the National Assembly of Nigeria will be getting over 30% of this money. National Assembly out of 484 billion will be getting 123 billion from this money. National Assembly of the Senate and the House of Representatives, their budget for 2021 is over 100 billion naira. How many members do we have in the Senate? 109. How many members do we have in the House of Rep? 360. So the two chambers will be getting over 100 billion from the 2021 budget. It's not even about getting the money that is really the problem. Let me tell you another problem that concerns the National Assembly. Over the past 5 years, the National Assembly of Nigeria, both the Senate and the House of Rep, has never in history made their budget available to the public. Nobody knows how they spend the money. The National Assembly, what they just get from the executive, from the federal government, is just the bulk of the money, the chunk. They are supposed to do their own breakdown of the budget, how they want to spend the over 120 billion that is being allocated to them. But as at now, the National Assembly of Nigeria, will say it again, has never made their budget known to the citizens that they are representing. Never make it public. There was a campaign we were running. We call it the Open NAS that we ran with the Enough is Enough Nigeria. So we ran this campaign 5 years. We call it the Open NAS, that the National Assembly, we can't be getting this amount of money from the government, spending it every year without people not knowing the details, how this money is spent. It's not logical. This is people's money. So we've been running this campaign for over 5 years. In 2017, then during the administration of Senator Bukola Saraki, we now had a meeting with him. He said, you people will just be disturbing us every time. Like, what do you want? We now said, see, it's not about what we want, it's about what should be done. It's about what should be done. You can't be running a system where you will close the public finance, people are paying taxes, and you will close it and nobody will know how this money is spent. It's not done anywhere. It is not done anywhere. Make your budget available to the public. We now said, okay, release the 2017 budget to us. Then they were not on Twitter and all of that. The National Assembly has finally published their budget. But let me tell you, since that time, 2017, 18, 19, 20, we've not seen anything that concerns the National Assembly again. It was more like, people should just collect and let me rest. Since then, in the period of 2015 to 2020, which is only 5 years, only their 2017 budget was released. 2018, nothing. 2019, nothing. 2020. And from this statutory transfer, the National Assembly gets over 120 billion from it. The second one is the sinking fund, 220 billion. What do we mean by sinking fund? Sinking fund is the money set aside to retire maturing bonds. So all the bonds that was gotten from the government, that was gotten by the government, the sinking fund is already made aside, set aside to be servicing it. The third one is the capital expenditure. I've explained what capital expenditure means. Capital expenditure are money set aside for capital projects, building of schools, building of hospitals, building of construction of anything that directly impact the life of the people, provision of water. I want to show you something in this capital expenditure. Money that was budgeted for capital expenditure is 3.85 trillion. Please go to my right and see debt servicing, 3.1 trillion. Debt servicing means the money that the government have borrowed, they have to be paying it back. Small every year. They'll be paying this money back. So in 2021, the money that they've set aside to pay back the loans that they've gotten is 3.1 trillion. Look at the total money that government wants to make. This is very, very funny. Let's go to the top one again, non-oil revenue and non-revenue. The addition of the two is 3.5 trillion. Money government wants to spend to service debt, 3.1 trillion. That means over 90% of Nigerian revenue will be used to pay debt. Over 90% of this money, this top non-oil and oil revenue, 90% of this money will be used to pay debt. So these are the problems we are currently facing in Nigeria. So another one, let's look at the special intervention program. The special intervention program is 420 billion. Special intervention programs are for amnesties of militants, constituency projects, and all of that. The non-debt recurrent expenditure. Non-debt recurrent expenditure is the breakdown of personnel costs and overhead that will be used to pay salaries. So this is the structure of the Nigerian budget for 2021. If you go to the website of the budget office, you will see the budget of Nigeria. It's over 2,000 pages. Over 2,000 pages. But at the end of the day, this is what we came out with in a simplified format that everybody in Nigeria will be able to understand. We were able to simplify over 2,000 pages document into a single A4 paper, which you are looking on your screen. That is the budget of Nigeria in 2021. This is the simplified version. So, I want to take us through the 2020 budget, which we are presently in, where Nigeria is currently spending money. So there's a sector we call the social sectors. What do we mean by social sectors? Social sectors mean the sectors that are actually impacting on the socio-economic well-being of the people. If you look at these sectors, there's nobody in this meeting that will not have to benefit from this sector. Ministry of Health, all of us need a very good health. Ministry of Education, we have to be schooled, goes to school and all of that. Ministry of Agriculture, without agriculture, there is no food. Ministry of Power, we know everybody needs electricity. Ministry of Works and Housing, like I said, works, construction of roads and all of that. All of us need an affordable housing. Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. Humanitarian Affairs means in case of disaster, water disaster, fire disaster, that ministry takes care of it. Issues in the Northeast and all of that, the Ministry of Women Affairs. Because Nigeria has been running a system in which women are not really participating, women are not really given a chance to participate in governance. How many women governors have we had in Nigeria? Since 1999. So these are the social sectors that benefit everybody. Everybody in Nigeria, over 200 million Nigerians, falls within these 7 ministries. So how important are let's look at the Ministry of Health, for instance. The budget we are presently running in Nigeria right now, the 2020 budget, Ministry of Health, they have a total allocation on the third row of 404 billion naira, 414 billion naira. That is the total amount of money given to that ministry. Out of this money, I want everybody to be looking at the screen. Out of this money, the first row is 363 billion. The 363 million will be used to pay salaries out of 414. Only 51 billion of this money is going for construction of hospitals, construction of primary health care centers. So that means over 85% of this money will be spent on payment of salaries. Like I've explained, recurrent is money for salaries, overhead, and all of that. Capital expenditure, capital is the total amount of money that will be used for capital project that will benefit the people. So in the Ministry of Health, will be spent in payment of salaries, buying of laptops, buying of utility vehicles. While 51 billion out of this money will be spent on construction or building of hospitals. These are our problems in Nigeria. So out of the total budget of the 2020, on the last row, only 3% of this money, 3% of the total amount of money in Nigeria that we want to spend in 2020, only 3% is going to the sector. And we have the issue of COVID. There are so many epidemics, Ebola, monkeypox, different diseases. And just 3% of this money was allocated to the health sector. Why do you think this is the problem? Why do you think we are having this problem? The reason why we are having this problem is because the political elite of Nigeria, the government of the federal government, the government of Nigeria, are both at the federal government level, at the state level, they don't. When COVID-19 happened and there was a total lockdown, there was a travel ban, and they said no plane should leave Nigeria, that everybody should stay in the country, I was very, very happy. Like, okay, it's fine like this. It is okay. Let all of us now be going to our hospitals. We're trying to visit any government hospital and they see the pathetic situation of government hospitals. How many of us have visited any primary care centers before? The large turnout we have at the general hospital, the state hospital, we're not supposed to have them. The reason why we're having people visiting general hospital or teaching hospital is because the primary health care centers in every locality are not working. So this is like a sickness like malaria. You see people going to teaching hospital to treat malaria. You see people going to teaching hospital to treat typhoid. Where all these sicknesses are supposed just to be done at the primary health care centers. There are over 2,000 primary health care centers in Nigeria. But how many of us have visited primary health care centers before? You get they tell you that they don't have drugs, they don't have syringe, they don't have equipment. For ordinary malaria, you have to go to the general hospital. They now have a situation where a lot of people to be attended to at the general hospital, and the doctors will now be overwhelmed. Why do we have that situation? Is because Nigeria is not properly allocating education. For the 532 billion in 2020, government is only spending 75 billion for the education sector. What is the percentage of this education budget? Only 5%. See the situation of Nigeria educational system. ASU has been on strike for over 8 months. But you see the attitude of the government, because how many of their children are in the public universities of Nigeria? How many of them? The problem does not concern them. If you like, stay home for 10 months. Nobody cares. Because you are not properly allocating money that you were supposed to the critical sectors of the economy. Across board, the problem is very, very enormous. It is very, very enormous. Let's look at power. Just 1% to the power sector. And you'll be shouting that you'll be shouting that Nigeria is not properly allocating monies to this sector. So these are the issues we have in Nigeria. So the sectoral capital, everything you are, I think I will share this slide. Okay, so the statutory transfer, like I said earlier, the National Assembly will be getting 128 billion of this money. Will be going to the National Assembly. Look at the Universal Basic Education Fund, Niger Data Development Fund, Basic Healthcare Fund. You see that proper allocation are not made to this sector. So I want to quickly round up this section. So let's look at the police budget for 2015. You see the amount of money the federal government has been budgeting for the police. So the question is, why must the police use public funds to kill the people they are meant to protect? From over 300 billion in 2015, the police budget has increased to over 400 billion. And you go out, there is no protection, is either SARS are victimizing you or the police are extorting you. So these are the problems that we're having. So again, if you look at the 36 states in Nigeria, in 2015, this is the debt of all the 36 states in Nigeria, 2.5 trillion. In 2019, this debt has increased to 5 trillion. Now the question is, what exactly are states using this money? What exactly are they using it for? I want to take a very, very look at this graphics. We have a section for pro-poor, and we have the section for pro-elite. So these line items were gotten from the 2020 budget. We were trying to look at, is government actually prioritizing the people, or this large amount of money will be used by the elite? Look at the Federal Ministry of Agriculture by your left. The total human capital development of Federal Ministry of Agriculture, only 96 million was allocated. For the upgrade of agricultural skill acquisition in Nigeria, only 103 million was allocated. Then if you look at the right, renovation of the National Assemblies, 9 billion was allocated to it. So what is the priority of the government? Entitlement of former president, 2 billion was allocated for it. So see the priorities of government, see agriculture, see money that will be paid to service to construct the National Assembly, 9 billion, then agriculture is having 96 million. So these problems are enormous. This is a Northeast Development Commission, provision of food to IDPs in the 9 constituencies in Nigeria, 270 million. Then EFCC is using over 300 million to buy vehicles. 500 million was allocated to the office of the First Lady. Ministry of Education, 4.5 billion for the coordination of ICT, 8 million naira acquisition of books for over 100 unity schools in Nigeria. Then by your right, you see that posting and return entitlement of ambassador is getting over 1.5 billion. So many more issues like that. So these are the development questions. Who do you effectively engage when it comes to these issues? Who do you effectively engage? You engage your legislature, you engage the representative for the people, you ask questions. I will let you know that when you ask the necessary questions from the government, you'll be also scared. Because Nigeria is running a system in which the government is not responsible to the people, or the government is not accountable to the people. When you ask them these questions, Oga representative, this also amount of money was budgeted for water in my community. Where is the water? This also amount of money was budgeted for roads in my community. Where is the road? When you ask them this question, they tend to be accountable to you. So how do you get involved with the budget? Get access to budget information, you understand the implication of the choices you are making when you are voting, and through advocacy. On social media platforms, on everywhere, you have the necessary question. So how do you get access to this government information? You go to the budget of the website, download this document. We have the budget proposal, the enacted budget, the NGA report, the citizen budget, the audit report. So these informations are information of public finance, where you can get how much government is making or how much government wants to spend and how this money is actually impacting on you. Why do we have corruption in Nigeria? First one is because Nigeria is running a system that government is not responsible to the people, an opaque system. The books of the government is not open to the public. The second one is because people poorly educated citizens. People are not asking questions. People are ignorant. The third one, which I've described earlier, is because the citizen not challenge attitude towards governance. That's why we have corruption. What is the cost of this corruption? You see the pictures in front of you. You see the state of Nigerian roads. The second graphic is showing that there is no power. The third one is showing people sitting on the floor to receive classes. And the third one, we see people hanging on trains for mode of transportation. High rate of poverty, you see the slums, and so many issues. These are the true causes of corruption. National crisis and insecurity. We have the militants, we have the Boko Haram, we have people, oil spillage and all of that. We have the Fulani herdsmen. So these are the problems. Why do we need to open up Nigeria? We need to ask our leaders the proper questions and the need for the public finance document to be made available to the public. Citizens need to know how much government is making, and they need to know how this money is being spent. The challenges, I've already discussed these challenges. The capacity of the people and the willingness of everybody in this meeting. Ask government questions. Don't let us have this lackadaisical attitude towards government that, well, it is not my business. No, it is everybody's business. And I've already explained how everybody will feel the impact of the problems of Nigeria. So these are the issues. As a citizen of Nigeria, we have roles to play when it comes to governance. And I'll tell you that when you ask questions from the government or when you challenge them, when they come to our constituency during election and they come to campaign, you can see we should be collecting rice, collecting palm oil, collecting groundnut oil. The groundnut oil will finish in 2 weeks or 1 month. And that will serve as a deterrent for 4 years that we did not have the proper question from the government. Thank you. I think that brings to the end of this session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. This has been eye-opening for many of us. Like if you can see the chat room, it's been really, really buzzing. I think the first step is knowing, and that is why this is very important, that now we know. A whole lot of us, we just heard that budget was passed and then we don't even know what's happening. We don't know what is there. Well, whatever it is they do, but like you said, whatever it is they do comes back to affect us. So we have few questions already, and guys, please, if you have questions, drop them in the chat room. We will respond. We will ask so we can get response. So the number one question we have is, are we able to see the national budget? I think this also merges with one that says, is the national budget a public property? Like, is it open to be seen? And how can we challenge the budget as citizens?
Okay. In my when I started the presentation, I said there are two major documents of the federal government that is very important. The Constitution of Nigeria, and the second one is the budget. Because without the budget, there's no how a country wants to run. Without a budget, there's no how a state wants to run. Because you can't just be running a state without having a budget. It's just like our own individual lives. You can't just be running your life without having a plan. I want to buy a TV, I want to buy a fan, I want to buy a fridge. So the government's budget is supposed to be a public document, public, available everywhere. Everybody should have access to it. And according to the Fiscal Responsibility Act, the budget is not called transparent until it is available on the government website. You can't say your budget is open or is available to the public and you printed the copy and you put it in the government shelf. How many people want to be going to the public government shelf to be looking at budget? It's supposed to be on the government website where everybody will see. So presently, the Nigerian budget is a public document and is available to the public. If you go to the office of the budget office, presently, just type budget office on Google, you will see budgetoffice.gov.ng. If you go to resources, you will see the government budget there of the federal government. Also on different state government websites, the state government websites, the state government budgets are available there for everybody to see. It's not just about seeing the numbers. That's the problem we have with the government. They just give us numbers. How do you want people to understand? Billions, 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 billions everywhere. You are supposed to make a simplified version of that budget, which is called the citizens budget. So if you're having a budget of over 1,000, how many people have time to be going through 1,000 pages document? So that 1,000 pages document is supposed to be simplified as easy for people to basically understand how much money government is making and how much government wants to spend. Government budget is available on the federal government website and also on the state website. And also if you go to the budget website, yourbudget.com, we also have an archive of all the budgets in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So there's the second part of the question says, how can we challenge the budget as citizens?
How do we challenge the government?
The budget.
Okay, how do we challenge the budget? The first way we challenge the budget is through our representative. Because all of us cannot go to Abuja to go and be asking Buhari questions. That is why we have a representative in every locality. And this representative that is representing us, they are the one that passes the budget. So when the process of budgeting, there's something we call the public hearing. The public hearing is always conducted, but people don't go to that thing. You will see it on TV. The government is calling on the federal government, on the people to come for a public hearing on the 2021 budget. There's always a public hearing at the National Assembly and the State of Assembly. That public hearing wants everybody, including the citizens, including the NGOs, including the CSOs, to be present. That is when everybody will have an idea about. That's when everybody will have an idea about the budget, and also ask questions directly from the representatives. 50 billion for this road. How many roads are you constructing? 30 billion, build hospitals. How many hospitals are you building? So there are platforms for that. And also when it comes to our locality, when it comes to campaign, you see people just hailing them, following them, without necessarily asking the questions of governance. When they come, they have offices. They have different offices. But what is the problem? The nonchalant attitude of the citizen. There are several platforms where you can challenge the budget. There are public hearing conducted. The representatives also have offices. So when you see in the budget that 5 billion has been allocated to construct Oyigbo-Yaba Road in the budget, who do you ask? You ask the representative in charge of that constituency. Oga, 5 billion was allocated for this road. How far? There are platforms for that. And I think every citizen has the right to have the elected representatives.
All right, thank you very much. So number 2, we'll quickly run through this.
Okay.
Who approves the release of the funds?
Okay, it is the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank of Nigeria that approve the release of funds. We have quarterly release of funds, and we also have half-year release of funds.
All right.
What the government does is now to send this budget to the Ministry of Finance. So quarterly money is being released. So this money is not released to the ministry. It's directly released to the contractors. So contractors will come, they will bid for the project. All the projects are outlined in the budget. So contractors will come, I want to construct this place. You will see Julius Berger bid for it. You will see RCC. When all of them bid for this contract, then the Ministry of Finance will be paying that money for that project, then it matches. So the Ministry of Finance and the Central Bank of Nigeria that is responsible for the release of funds.
Okay. What's the process of budget creation?
Okay. The process is actually very, very long. It's a very long process. The process of budget creation is actually another section entirely. We call it the budget process.
Okay, I think
we'll
have another class for that because we have a couple of questions.
Give a summary.
Okay, yeah.
Just give a summary.
Give a summary, then we know that we are going to lock you down for another class for budgets. Creation process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So different ministry, like I've said, Ministry of Education, everybody will prepare their budget. Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture. So when everybody prepares their budgets, they send it to the executive. They send it to the president, they send it to the governor. So when the governor meets with the ministers, with the commissioners, president meets with the minister, the budget of different ministries will be collected into one budget document. Everything will be collected together, making a single document. Then the budget will be sent to the legislature. At the state, it will go to the State Assembly. At the federal level, it will go to the Senate. When it goes to the Senate, there are different readings. The first reading, the second reading, there are different stages of this process. And at the end of the day, they send the budget back. The budget is passed, and they send it back to the president for assent. That means for signature. Then that's when the budget becomes a budget. At that level, it's still just a document. So when it's decided by the president and it has already gone through that process, it becomes a signed document.
Okay, thank you. So I think this question is in relation to the fact that you said we don't have access to the legislative budgets. Usually it is hidden. So someone is asking, can we release of the budget since they are hiding it?
Yes, we are actually looking for people because we've been at the forefront of this advocacy. Imagine running an advocacy for 5 years and you are not getting response. So the example is this SARS protest. I was looking at, and when they started blocking the Lekki Expressway, when they started blocking this Lekki Expressway, people that were there, they were no more than 200. But with time, we see how the crowd was increasing. It was increasing. When people were just 200, people did not really give attention to it that these people are jobless people. But when we saw, when the crowd now increased, a very, very huge turnout, we see that government now started responding. So this is part of the advocacy. EIE, budget, and different civil society organizations are running this campaign. Imagine when we now have the coalition of citizens with us, we have different media, and everybody now comes together to stop the National Assembly to make their budgets open. You see that the response will be different when few people are just making this request. We've been running this campaign for over 5 years. The hashtag is on Twitter, openness. So everybody can join this hashtag, the National Assembly, to release their budget. Yes.
Please, can we mute our mics? Thank you. Okay, so hashtag openness. Let's go and flood it and get them to open up their budget. So someone is asking, can we ask for the budget in our local government?
Yes. Local government is another problem entirely when it comes to administration in Nigeria, because we see a situation where people, much of their attention goes to the federal government and the state government. People are not really paying attention to the local government. But how do we have local government representatives? We have chairmen in all the local governments. We have councillors. But you see that the councillors, the chairman, are not even responsible to the people because people are not putting spotlight on them. How many people know the chairman of their local government? How many people even know their local government? You see, most people, I stay in Lagos. I was born in Lagos. They don't even know where they came from. So people don't even pay attention to the corruption that is going on at the local government level. Very big one that nobody is paying attention to. No local government in Nigeria release their budgets to the public except Kaduna State. None of them. Only Kaduna State has a website that they call it Open Kaduna, that they present the local government budget. All other states in Nigeria, nobody has ever seen a local government budget before. It's also part of our advocacy. When we're already pushing the state, we're also pushing the local government too. That all these agencies of government boils down to the people and they should be responsible to the people.
All right, thank you. So another set of people we need to hold is our local government guys.
Yes.
Which is the appropriate way to engage legislators? Is it from my constituency of origin or my constituency of residence? Most especially when my PVC is tied to my constituency of residence.
I think it goes both ways. It's if you want to engage them at the level of, if you want to engage them that's on a state that does not even concern you, you have the right to as a Nigerian. So if you are bothered, for instance, I mentioned Lagos by the expressway now. Everybody in Nigeria uses that road. If I just go to Ede in Ochun State, maybe to go and attend the wedding, and I see that the road in Ede is not good, I'm engaged with representative in Ede, goes to their budget. Oga, why have you not construct the road in this locality? It doesn't mean I have to come from there. As an active citizen, you don't have to be active based on your constituency or based on your local government. You have to be active everywhere. It is public money. Don't forget that it is public money. Public. Which cut across the whole Nigeria. It's not your constituent money. It's public. So at any level of government, both at the federal, both at the state, both at the local government, you have the right to engage the representative irrespective. So if it is your place of residence, the EIE, for instance, Enough is Enough organization, they have a website called Shine Your Eye, where we have the phone numbers and the contact details of all the representatives in Nigeria. We also have a platform where we call Tracker. This platform is responsible for engaging representatives directly. You go to Twitter NG, you go to Tracker NG, you will see Tracker asking the representative proper question. So if you cannot do it as an individual, maybe you are scared of victimization, you can also engage the civil society or the NGO responsible for this. You can engage budgets, you can engage other people. There are so many organizations. We have Flow the Money. We have so many organizations that you can engage, that you can volunteer, and you can also be a community champion in your different localities for asking your representative questions.
All right, thank you. So there's a question that says, apart from the budget, is there a historical report of how much was spent for the year gone by? Like how much was spent in 2019? Is there any way we can have access to that?
Yes, it's even part of what I'm presently working on. Like I said, according to fiscal responsibility, there are different documents that should be released to the public. It's not only budget, because after you presented the budget, you also have to tell us how you spend the money. So that report of giving us account of how you spend that budget is called a budget implementation report. If you go to the budget office website also, you will see the budget implementation report. It's supposed to be released quarterly. So all these budget documents they are part of budget process section that I was talking about. So the budget implementation report is supposed to be released quarterly by the government. It will be released in March, it will be released in July, it will be released in September, to be released in December. 4 documents in a year. It will tell you how much money they spend, how much money they make. The budget office website, budgetoffice.gov.ng, you will see the budget implementation report year of 2019 of how much you spend in 2019.
So are these is it available? We know they are supposed to do it, but do they do it?
Yes, it's part of the advocacy that we are running. They just started, not like it was something that has been done based on the history of Nigeria. Even on the budget office website, you'll be shocked to know that the whole budget that is available on the budget office website started from 2009. And Nigeria has been presenting budget since establishment. So you'll now be wondering, the whole budget office of Nigeria does not even have budget of Nigeria since 1999. Where are those ones? They only have budget starting from 2009. Budget office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So from 2009 has been improving, and I believe things will continuously improve. So presently, at the federal government level, they present the budget implementation report, but at the state level, it is zero. Some states present and some states don't even bother to present.
Okay, but you said we can engage people like budget. You mentioned some other
Yes.
bodies where we can use to challenge this
Organization,
government.
yes.
Yeah. So can you
Mhm.
please drop in the chat names of these organizations people are asking so that we can
Okay.
engage them? All right.
Okay.
So the next question is when is the next public hearing and how do we know the next one?
And so date of 2021 was just presented, like I said, 3 weeks ago. So for this budget cycle now to start, they will go to the public hearing, they will bring the budget to the National Assembly, and it's supposed to be between October and December before the budget will be approved. So between now and December, this is when we have the budget process. So if you are attentive very well, or you are conversant with newspapers, you're conversant with the news, social media handles of government agency, they will always publish it that the public hearing will be held on so date. So public hearing for 2021 budget will be announced by the budget office.
Okay, so is this always like a physical gathering? You
Yes,
know,
a physical
considering
gathering.
the
In
so
the
it must
physical gathering at the National Assembly, they always make provision for social distancing.
but we are many. Okay, so the question is then how many of us would have to travel to Abuja? Like, is it not something that we could also advocate for? Like, the world has gone virtual. While
Yeah,
some people would be there at the national, it's supposed to be an open process, right? Is it televised? Is it open? I don't know. Is it
yes,
televised normally?
it's always televised by the media that wants to carry it. You know, sometimes media sometimes in Nigeria, God is always good that we help us, that we help them. So some media televise it live, public hearing of the 2021 budget, televise it live, and questions can also be sent. Like questions can be sent to the public hearing, questions can be sent through the media, and questions you don't have to represent, you don't have to go there to go and sit down and be listening to them. Questions can also be sent through the representatives of the citizen, maybe the NLC, maybe CXO budget and all of that. Your questions can be sent to them for them to help you to present that as the citizen.
Okay, so this is the final budget, which I think is important because even in our individual organizations, when there's a budget and there's a project, you have project managers. So, who
Yes.
actually who manages this capital projects at the executive level?
So that is a very, very important question. There are over 2,000 line items in the budget that talks about capital projects. Over 2,000 across the country, over 36 states. There are capital projects that is supposed to be done across the state. So we have one problem that we are trying to solve presently. When we ask our representatives, projects are being done based on locality. If they say Douala, Asaba, or Nika Road, it is that locality that wants to benefit from it. So the right question that is supposed to be asked is from the representative of Owerri and Asaba. When we now have this representative that, okay, that senator representing Owerri and Asaba constituency or representing Owerri Central, 2 billion was allocated for the construction of this road. How far with the implementation? You will see representative also asking us back that they were not the contractor of that project, that the contract was given by the ministry to construct it, so that they don't have hand in the construction or in anything that comes to the capital project. But it's a lie, because in the budget we have something we call the constituency project that over 100 billion was allocated for it, which is supposed to be under the domain of every legislature. So the legislators are supposed to be performing an oversight function of supervising the construction of roads, the building of boreholes, the construction of schools, the construction of hospitals. That is their work. They are representing the people. And if something is happening in your locality, as a representative of the people, you are supposed to take charge. But you see situation where the legislators don't even care. But normally, this contract is being awarded by the ministry, the contractors. But then the representatives in this locality are supposed to be giving update reports, are supposed to be managing it, are supposed to be doing it in collaboration with citizens. This is how it should be, but it is not like that presently in Nigeria. We just see everything just lies on the executive. The executive will carry scissors and banner. They said they want to go and commission road. What did you do that you are commissioned? You are doing something with public money, say you are commissioning it, and everybody will now come out with drums and dancing and they're dancing. It's the kind it's everything boils down to poorly educated citizens. You are not supposed to praise them for construction of road. No, you're not supposed to praise them for construction of hospitals. Then what are they there for? Are they supposed to be there to be playing? That's their responsibility. They are servants. They call them public servants. So they are supposed to serve the citizen. We're not supposed to serve them. So carrying banners, carrying drums, carrying everything, and say you want to commission road. Have you ever heard about anything like Donald Trump is commissioning road in the United States? Have you ever heard that Prime Minister of UK is commissioning hospitals? These are not done in a civilized world. But because we have the level of poverty rate in Nigeria, we have highest level of illiteracy. That is why we're having this problem. It's not done anywhere. The executives are supposed to award the project, then the legislators are supposed to take charge as representatives of the people.
All right, thank you very much, Olani. I'm very happy you mentioned the part that we have a high level of illiteracy, and it's not just about going to school, it's about knowing the right thing.
Yes.
Like many of us go to school. So on this note, can you share the slides with us? It will be very useful for those of us that want to pick it up from here and continue the advocacy and teaching people across platforms. Like that is why we are here, so that we can pass the information around to those on social media, those of social media and everywhere. So kindly share the documents with us and we will pass it across to everybody who registered for this session.
No problem.
And on this note, we say thank you. You owe us a session, so we'll reach out soon. And thanks to everybody who took their time to attend this session. It's been a very enlightening one. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a wonderful week ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you to the presenters. It's been nice and it's been educative. Bye to everybody.